What's up everybody and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all well. I'm absolutely fantastic, thank you for asking. And today we're going to go through a push instructional, but I think today I might hold a little bit more weight because officially we are an IFBB Pro, so we can put that in the damn title. And hopefully it's going to carry a little bit more weight. Still the same person as a couple of weeks ago, probably still the same advice, but we're going to delve into the depths of why we do things, why we put certain things where, because there's definitely a method to the way that I train. You know, there's probably 3 phases, and we will go through those 3 phases as we go. But before that, I wanted to just show you guys some of the things that I've got sent out from AdsFit. Now, I get asked about massage guns all the time, and do I use them, and do I think they're beneficial? And you know, for the sake of, they're a little bit expensive sometimes, like 150 quid or whatever it is, but for the sake of 150 quid to just get into those spots that perhaps you got to go pay £70 for an hour for a masseuse 1-2 times every other week or so, there's a lot of benefit there. And Ads have sent me out 3 different kinds here. So we've got a nice small portable one here, which is really cool for going on the road. And then as they get incrementally bigger, this is a bodybuilding specific one. So there's a lot more power behind it for people who are more heavily muscled. You can get deeper into the tissue. Every single one comes with a different head. So you can kind of, for example, this would be nice down the bottom of the spine. This would be nice into smaller parts like the corner of your pec. And then of course, if you just want an overall leg massage, you can come in with a flip or more flat surface. And then of course you have the Big Daddy, which obviously a lot of people would have seen the size of these ones. They're a lot bigger. They last a lot longer, kind of 6 to 9 hours. And they're really good bits of kit. Like, they're really well made. So if you are going to go look into a massage gun, I'd recommend AdsFits for sure. I don't often recommend too many companies. I only do it if it's worth it. And for me, like the combination of having the portable one, the one that's specifically for bodybuilding, and then of course the big one, it makes it worth it. Let's get into the work. Right then guys, we're going to come into our first exercise, which is going to be a pec deck. Now, some people might watch this and think, why are you doing an isolation first? Well, there's actually a few reasons why we want to do this isolation first. Number one, we want to drive some fluid to the joints, get that synovial fluid moving. We also want to drive a little bit of a neurological connection to the muscle, so I often find that it works well to drive a bit of a pump in the chest before you go into a full press. But not only that, but we're going to work the pec in the short range very efficiently here. Now, the short range for the pec, when we look at horizontal adduction, lateral adduction, the biomechanic freaks are going to shoot me right now. But essentially the shortest position for the pec is where the elbow is coming across. You can only really do that in a pec fly. When you're doing a press, you finish here. So you actually miss out on this proportion of the pec. And we know that getting into this final third gets increasingly harder as we get fatigued. So we want to do it first. And that is the reason behind it. So you'll see I'm generally taking about 3 to 4 warm-up exercises before I get to warm-up sets before I get to my top set. I'm basically just feeling it out. I'm saying, this is what we're gonna do. We're accumulating upwards to that top set. I'm readying my nervous system to lift into an all-out set, slowly but surely. Another thing that we're doing here is that we've got the D handles just looped over the normal handles. Does anyone have wrist pain? Does anyone have elbow pain? Throw these D handles over. You can have that unique rotation to you, and it's gonna just massively change the way that you can squeeze in. These fixed handles often give me a little bit of wrist pain, so the D handles, they solved it. So you'll see here, guys, I am not thinking about bringing my hands together, more pushing out and bringing those elbows together. Top set, 6 to 10 reps, heavier set. Back off 10 to 15. I usually drop about 20%. So 130, I'm gonna drop about 25, 26. For me, I can see that's gonna be 1, 2, it's gonna be about there, just to play it safe. 25 kilo drop, or whatever it translates to. So we're on to second exercise now. Now we're gonna move on to our press now. We have these things called strength and resistance profiles. Now, a strength profile is the area or the position that a muscle is strong and weak. So for example, for a pec, we know we're in a lengthened position, we're quite weak, and as we press, we actually get into a stronger and stronger position. We then have a resistance profile. The resistance profile is basically where the machine is heavy and light, and we want to match those as best as possible. So for example, when we're in a nice weak position, we would want to offload some of that stress, and as we come stronger into a heavier, as we get stronger and stronger, we would want to offload that and match the resistance profile of the machine to the strength profile of the pec. And you can do this for all types of muscles. This is what we're doing with this reverse band now. You're going to see as it lowers down, the tension's going to increase, it's going to offload when we're in a weak, vulnerable position, like where our shoulder girdle is in a weak position, but also the pec is in a weak position. And then as we drive up, you're going to see the slack come off, and you're going to see the bar take more weight and the pec take more weight, or the shoulder take more weight as we get into a stronger and stronger position. That's the idea behind a reverse band. Don't come at me. It's great. Try it before you hate on me. We're going to work up here. Probably looking at 3.5 plates. Straight to 3. Feels easy, mate. Try. I say 160, it's not really 160. I don't know if you're filming that, but it's just it's how my brain works. In my head I was like, should I stick 4 plates on? Might be a bit saucy and put 4 on for an Instagram video. I know, I'll try it. Fuck it. Let's risk it for the biscuit. That's a big fucking biscuit. Yes! We'll take 4 again to that point where I'm feeling pretty good. Recovery's good, 3 weeks in. Let's start pushing the boat out a bit more. Chasing that strength back down. 4 reps, 4 plates. So you guys will notice when I'm pulling this down, I'm basically trying to lower this into the deepest, stable range. And a lot of my clients will hear me say this a lot. I'm lowering this to the deepest, stable range that I have available. For me, any lower than where I'm going, for example here, I'm gonna start putting too much pressure through my shoulder joint and take away what I'm trying to do. Learn how to fail as well. Jesus. So as I'm coming over here, I'm realizing actually I've made a slight mistake. This was supposed to be a delt dominant day, so this was supposed to be first. And with the same reasoning, especially in this machine, and you guys might notice this, that if we put the shoulder into the lengthened position or the lateral head into the lengthened position, it's not going to be here. It's actually here. You know, so we're not going to tax that lengthened position a lot during this movement. It's much more going to be a mid and short range, because short range, short is contracted, mid as it extends, and then lengthened really comes right across here, which we can do with a cable, and we will do later on, but we're just focusing on getting short first. And I'd probably look to do this before a press generally, but I just messed up when I was reading my program this morning. So we're just gonna warm up like normal, tax this short range now, and catch up. And a big indicator of when your set is done. Are you failing that range that you're supposed to be working? You can see that I couldn't get it above there. But that's the main focus of that, is trying to get short. Once that's done, set's done. There's no need to force those shit reps out. We're in our 4th exercise now, and we have really exhausted that top line. You know, we've done a big lateral delt, so we know that any kind of horizontal pushing is probably out of the question. We've done a horizontal push, vertical, that's what I mean. We've done a vertical push, so we're probably not going to look to do that again. We've done a pec deck, which is an isolation. We've not done any big, heavy flat press, flat load. Now, I tend to do either, I actually like to do the hammer strength sometimes, but this is the Arsenal bit of kit. I haven't used this for a while. Either use this or a cable D handle. press. And that is gonna fully rinse our pecs and we'll be done. Usually, like I said, I messed up this session a little bit. The pec deck would probably come after this. But we're gonna hit 2 solid sets on the flat press here. So we're essentially just gonna use this to kind of really maximize and utilize that lower tissue in that kind of costal fiber area. You've got your kind of clavicular fibers just running across the top, which is a lot more kind of direction up here. And now we're just gonna direct a little bit lower, a little bit more intent to those lower pec fibers, exhaust the pec. So when we're looking at structuring these workouts as a whole, you can see we've gone from a very tactical, let's get the joints warm, let's get those short fibers absolutely firing and taxed when they perhaps they get a little bit harder to tax here. We've then moved on to like meat and bones. Let's get our heavy presses done. Let's work in that big, mid, and lengthen range where we know it's going to take a lot of energy and we know that it's going to take a lot of weight to kind of tax that muscle. You know, and then we can get a little bit more tactical and we can finish off those ranges that perhaps need a little bit more work. We know that maybe might be a little bit more in the length and the mid-range, but how effective is it going to be taxing that through a big press? Probably not that efficient in terms of accumulating fatigue and having to come back and do this exercise or this session in 3 days again to try and progress. We've got to think about that. You know, we're not just training for today, we're training for the next session and the next week and the next week, and we're not trying to just hammer yourself into the fucking ground where you can't even move in 4 days still. You know, that's not tactical. That's not how you're gonna grow over the long term. So very much like a 3-pronged attack to start, middle, and end. One more set on here, and then we're gonna wrap up with the end, and we'll talk about how we're gonna finish off those final edges. So we're gonna move into a cuffed standing lateral raise. Now, like we said with the lateral raise machine, like we're immediately inhibited by my lats and by the starting position. The starting position was here in that machine, and I'm coming like this. So I'm missing out on all this range here. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna get the new one of our thin cuffs, which are nice and thin and soft. I'm gonna keep them right around the wrist here, because the wrist is gonna put us in a nice lengthened position. And you can see when we cross over, you kind of anchor yourself against each one, and you can come all the way into this lengthened position and work all the way up. So whereas in the lateral raise machine, we're very much doing this movement, now we can really tax the far lengthened position. So we're just coming into our 3rd set here now. The reason why I would do a 3rd set on something like a lateral raise versus a big flat press or a compound exercises is entirely because of energy demand. You know, with 4 or 5 exercises in here, this is not an energy demanding exercise for me whatsoever. So it's not gonna dip into the reserve tanks, it's not gonna dig too much of a hole. It's just gonna, it's just a way for me to accumulate good volume in a very fatigue managing way. So that's why I can do a few more here versus a big press. So we have pretty much finished off, I can't even lift my arms anymore. So we finished off the delts, we finished off the pecs. Now we're just gonna kiss our triceps. So I wanna do a big bang for your buck tricep exercise, something that's gonna take me through the biggest range of motion possible with the most accuracy possible. So for me, I obviously wish this wasn't a dual handle, I wish it was a single handle, I'd grab it. I'm gonna use my non-working arm as support and security. I'm gonna basically put my elbow into flexion as much as possible, and it's not gonna stay. You can see I'm in a big state, like a real short angle from elbow joint here, and I'm just gonna fully extend without moving my elbow and go back into that full range of motion with a lot of stability and keep it accurate, that intent. Next exercise, we're going to go into an overhead position. The reason why we're going into an overhead position is just to put the shoulder into a little bit of extension, because we know that the tricep here is going to connect in there, and like if we're just constantly here, we're not necessarily getting that fully lengthened position. So we're going to go into the overhead position here. Ideally, you'd want to go into like a machine, because we're super fatigued. Pecs tired, delts are tired, the triceps are fatigued now. You're going to have more risk of injury. So where there's more risk of injury, you try and minimize the moving parts. It's not going to be too bad because we're obviously standing. But if we were in like an Atlantis one, for example, which is like a seated machine where your chest is supported, your back is supported, probably a little bit safer than the awkwardness of this, as you can see. You also get more weight through it. Alright guys, that is session done, pump achieved. I think it's just important to take those 3 notes from where I like to set things up. So get the joints warm, prime your body, get the body ready to lift heavy, but also be effective in working those muscles in the short range, which we know get a little bit harder as you go further down the workout. Then we go for your big bang for your buck exercises, the meat and bones. You know, if you're doing legs, it's your hack squats. If you're doing chest, it's your presses, it's your deadlifts. Then we get into those because we're warm, we're safe, we're in a more mobile position, and we're ready to load neurologically with your central nervous system being slowly accustomed to heavier and heavier weight. Bang it. Then we can kind of back off and be a little bit more tactical, maybe choose some more energy efficient exercises that aren't going to cane us into the ground, but where we can accumulate volume, for example, where we did our delts for 3 or 4 sets later on in the workout, and you can just kind of kiss your volume on there. That's where you're going to do your triceps. That's where you're going to do your biceps. Maybe it's where you do your rear delt. Maybe it's where you do those smaller muscles that perhaps don't get the attention in those bigger lifts. And just let me know how you get on with it. Like obviously we're only doing 2 sets here, 3 sets here, because we're training to absolute failure with very, very good form. I hope you guys can see that from all of my lifts. We're controlled, we're accurate. So let me know how you get on with it. If you enjoyed this type of video, please let me know. We'll definitely go through legs and pull and different exercises as we go, but it's always good to get feedback. So drop a like, drop a comment. We'll be back very soon, baby, with some more IFBB Pro workouts. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you soon. Peace.